Welcome to the Best Business Podcast, the podcast for established marketers, entrepreneurs, and CEOs. The ones who want to join me in my mission to create 200 new multimillionaires who solve world problems with entrepreneurship. If that's you, then this podcast was created to give you access to the tools, training, strategies, and tactics you need to achieve multiple seven-figure profits as soon as possible. This world needs the best business you can build, so please get ready, open your mind, believe you can do this, and let's build a better world together for future generations. Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski. I'll be your host as always, and today we are joined by a very special man, Ed O'Keefe. Now, what I love about Ed most is he is a no-nonsense, tell-it-like-it-is kind of guy who also loves to work hard, take care of his family, and knows how to have fun. I first met Ed when he was speaking on stage at an event a mentor of mine, Lloyd Irvin, was putting on. One of the things I enjoyed most from Ed's talk was how well he explained his approach and how it all works together. It was very straightforward, easy to follow, and practical, and it was also brilliant information which really had an impact on me and my business. In fact, months later at Lloyd's birthday party, I really enjoyed it when I had a chance to talk with him a little more. And all I can say is Ed really gets direct response marketing inside and out, on and off stage. He's just a great guy to know. He comes from a huge family, like a huge family, and has 7 children himself, all under 10 years old. Ed is an entrepreneur, a best-selling author, and most importantly for you guys listening on this call, Ed has gone from being dead broke to cracking the code of starting and taking multiple businesses from 0 to multiple 7 and even 8-figure profits. He's the creator and founder of top-selling brands such as Inspired Wear, Marine D3, where he sold over 500,000 bottles, as well as strategic consulting products that help motivated entrepreneurs, showing them how to take their idea to market and scale them using multiple media channels. If you didn't know Ed before now, all you need to know is you're about to listen in on some words of wisdom from a very heavy hitter and a self-made man. So please give him your full respect and attention. Ed, thank you so much for your time. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, Daryl. Hi, everybody. That was overly generous intro, so I appreciate that.
You're welcome, man. You deserve
and
it.
I do remember hanging out at the party together, and I have to tell all your listeners, if they have not seen you dance, they need to make time for that. You know, so
that could be good or bad, but whatever. I don't care. I just do the
it's all positive, man. Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen you, since we've had a chance to talk. You know, I know a bit about your background, your story, but maybe can you share with your listeners, like, how did you even first find out about marketing? Like, did you come from a family that has a business background, or?
Yeah, so no, none of that. I grew up in a blue-collar family from the south side of Chicago. Great area, fantastic family. You know, I like to say my dad worked 40 hours a week, so he had the opportunity to work another 20 at time and a half. And, you know, for us growing up, it was kind of laid out for us where we were going to grow up, go through high school, go into the union and become an electrician or engineer or something along those lines, you know. And for some reason, I mean, I've never been good at utilizing my hands for like, you know, carpentry, anything like that. And my mom always joked with me saying, even to this day, it was pretty funny. Like, you know, I'm 39 now, I turned 40 shortly, and I have 7 children. We're married. We have, I mean, we're doing very well. Our life is very abundant in just so many ways, that we're very blessed. I mean, you know, but we worked hard for it, right? The same thing. So, and I still am not handy. so that has one thing that has not changed. And, I mean, I'll tell you funny, this is kind of a side thing, but I always like change. Like I do interviews, so I hate telling the same story over and over again. So this is actually a recent one, which is like last night. It's, I'm sitting down to watch Game of Thrones. It's Sunday night. The last thing I want to do is anything but watch Game of Thrones. And my 3.5-year-old is like, "What is that beeping, Daddy?" And I hear my wife out of the kitchen. She's like, "That's the battery of the fire alarm that your dad has to still fix." And I was like, "I know." And I was like, "After Game of Thrones," because, you know, it's just kind of where we go. So anyhow, yeah. And, so anyhow, I came from an awesome family. I was fortunate. I went to a great high school. Was fortunate enough to pick up volleyball around my sophomore year in high school after getting cut from the A team of baseball. It's kind of transitioned into volleyball. And went away, played 4 years of volleyball, got my nursing degree. And, something that happened, I think this is really common with most people who follow the path of personal development or success or marketing, entrepreneurship, or just even living a positive life where they're at, whether it's, in their own career, is they come across some kind of audio tapes or books that transform their lives. And for me, that was the beginning of, I remember Chicken Soup for the Soul was famous, and I saw a couple motivational speakers, and then I went into my coach's, I noticed, like my eyes were open, and I noticed in my volleyball coach's office, he had Psychology of Winning by Dennis Waitley, and he had Lead the Field by Earl Nightingale, and I asked to borrow those. Well, I still have those audio tapes today, so that borrow became into owning, I guess. But that was the first time I ever was told, even though I grew up in a very positive family where my parents were encouraging, my siblings were awesome, my coaches were all great, but it was the first time I ever was told that you can go out and create the life that you want, and you can go do what you want, and that we live in a land of freedom. And I would say, like, now we live in a world of freedom for most of the population, and it's only going to get better, despite all the other things that are like bad if you watch CNN and the news. Despite all that, the abundance of opportunity is just exploding. But at that time, you got to remember, I was only 22, and I was, very collegial going through the nursing clinicals and stuff. But there was a part of me that was like, this is not for me. And so when I graduated college, I had already told my professors, even though they didn't listen to me, and I came home and said, I'm not going into this. And so I thought at the time I was going to be a motivational speaker. Which I did, actually. I just didn't do a good job of it. And I was broke, for about 4.5 years there, man. It was a very long, arduous grind of trying different things, bouncing in, doubting myself, connecting to myself. It was just very, our T-shirt company, Inspired Wear, that we're launching now. One of my T-shirts, and you'd appreciate this, most high-level athletes get it instantly, is, I have just a simple T-shirt that says grind. And on the back of it, it says, don't expect people to understand your grind when God didn't give them your vision.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, right?
I like that.
And, and so something my kind of little mini mission is to redefine what grind means. And if you look in the dictionary, it talks about how grind is the process of destructing something into dust. And our society has adopted that language to apply it to what they do on a daily basis that they don't want to be doing or that's arduous. But when you're around winners, especially, as you know, being around high-level athletes, grind means something completely different. And it's the process from going from where you are to where you want to be in an unconventional manner that separates you from others in an uncommon or non-traditional manner. And, another way of putting it is it's the path to greatness, right?
Right.
And so that 4.5 years was my first really arduous, on my own, independent, trying to figure the world out, dealing with all the emotional states and challenges that come with trying to figure it out. And I don't say that in like a sad way, by the way, because some people like going the opposite way. I'm saying that was just part of the, the golf. Yeah, part of the process, right? And so it wasn't until about 4.5 years that I came across actual marketing people that advised me to check out Dan Kennedy and check out Corey Rudel. And then I stumbled, next thing you know, I started learning about internet marketing. I started making a little bit of money, and then I transitioned into teaching dentists how to grow their dental practices. And that was the beginning that was like the first time I started actually having money in my pocket. First time I had like the aha, there's a direct correlation for my ability to the better I do at learning marketing and copywriting and those skill sets, which I still study today at a very granular level, and still breaking out things. And like yesterday was a Sunday, and I listened to probably 6 hours of a seminar while driving kids around on 1.5 times speed. And there were so many nuggets in that seminar. So like, that was nice. So I started this process, I'm 39 now. So whatever, 17 years ago, and I'm still doing it today. And I love it. I think that your listeners, if they're in that space, good for them. That's what we're, so that's kind of like the little mini background. I transitioned out of dentist profits, started a health company, a health supplement business. We've sold over $50 million worth of sales in the last 6.5 years.
That's awesome.
And, yeah. I mean, our best year was 28 million. And now I have that health business. I have I hate saying the word consulting model because it's not. We have a mentoring / seminar business that teaches people in the health, performance, supplement, and product market how to take their idea to market and scale it for 7 to 8 figures. And then the other thing we have just, and then I'll stop talking, is we launch in the Inspired Wear company, which the goal is to have 1% of the world population to wear inspired wear, to raise the level of consciousness and create a just really inspiring, give people an opportunity to put stuff on their shirts daily that makes them feel amazing and reinforces their identity and where they want to be in life. That's kind of what's driving us today.
That's awesome. That's a really good mission too, because I think that's a huge obstacle in a lot of people's ways. A lot of people get in their own way. Mindset's a huge part of it. It's not everything. I'm not a big fan of people that think affirmation is, if I just repeat this over and over and over, I feel like it's Think and Grow Rich. There's 13 principles. It's not just one. But I think that's a really good mission. One, to just clothe people, 1% of the population, but to get that out there, to raise the consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that, I hate leading with like raise this level of consciousness, guys. Sound a little more Wayne Dyer-ish. But the reason I started, which is not a bad thing, but the reason I started Inspired Wear, honestly, bro, was because I was sick of going into my my dresser drawer and pulling out people's logos and putting logos on my chest.
Right.
Where I was like, what's the mindset stuff that I want? So like I created shirts that like, and if you look at the behavioral change domino effect, identity is where things begin. So if I shift and I believe I'm a world champion, I will behave like a world champion. I will adopt the belief systems of that. So when I say like Unreal, like we have some really cool shirts, it's like, so I wanted to create, how GoPro, they created cameras for their surfboards so they could catch what they were doing. I wanted to create a business that was not for anybody but me and my family. And so since I have a wife that covers the females, since I have all these kids, it covers the kids. And then since I'm a coach, I have athletes and so I have a long reach. But it's like when I hear things or see things, like like in CrossFit, what do you say to people that are suffering across from you when they're trying to breathe? And you say you got this. Yep. So one of our best-selling T-shirts is just a simple purple with white faded lettering that just says "You got this." That women love. Be yourself is another pink one that women love and girls love. And on the back it says, they will nod with approval when you conform, but shake their heads in disbelief when your true self shines through. So that's stuff that it's an internal affirmation, but it also sends to the people around you like, this is a different messaging that is different than what you see elsewhere, and I am that person, right? So I mean I can talk about this stuff all day, but I'll flip it back to you for
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. Because here's the thing is, like you said, you wanted to wear clothing that inspired you to improve your identity and make your family healthier, happier, healthier, and even the people you coach, and just have that impact on others. And that's even this whole podcast. I don't know if you're aware or not, but this podcast has the mission to help create 200 new multimillionaire business owners. Because
I love it.
businesses solve problems for people. Gary Benzavenga says that he defines a market as a problem. A lot of people think a market is an age group or demographic or psychographic. He's like, it's not. It's a problem. That's what your market is. Problems are markets. So I want to help make a difference in the world. And with your own business, you can help every business needs a few hundred customers at least to kind of stay afloat, especially over the long term. But if you're helping businesses, now you can affect thousands and tens of thousands of people. So I think it's a great mission, and it definitely. I mean, people. What is Michelangelo? I'm gonna butcher the quote, but I think Michelangelo has a quote where the greatest threat to humanity to a man is not setting a goal and failing to achieve it. It's setting a goal and hitting it, or something like that. It's like it's just setting your goals too low that you don't really push yourself to strive to become more and be better. So
yeah, and let me add to that real quick. So the marketing principle behind it too is that I only want to start businesses that and grow brands of things that I personally am ridiculously passionate about. And the reason is, man, is because the typical marketing formula is find a hungry market, find out what they want, and then give it to them. And I think that's right. And I think that's a great bulletproof system. But I think we're in a time that social media and globalization and technology and the ability to crowdsource things means that why would you ever do stuff that isn't congruent with your spirit and who you are at a core level? Why go on a mission that you're not willing to, I don't say give your life for, but I guess in some ways, why do that? Like, why waste your freaking time?
Yeah.
Because now you can.
Yep. And
so, I was sharing with a young group of inner city kids, like, you have the same exact resources that everyone else does. You have Amazon.com, you got YouTube, you got Facebook, you got social media, and you have the ability of doing it. And so does everybody who's listening to this. So, something I was really conflicted with in our health supplement business, we have phenomenal products that I take daily. I have my routine. I take our 3 top omega-3s with super antioxidants, and I take our probiotic. That's the 4 products I take daily. Those are all our best sellers. And we were selling them primarily to the baby boomer crowd in a way that is more fear-based. It's like, are you like kind of do you have high blood pressure, blah, blah, blah. And that's cool. Like, that's cool. I mean, that works, but it's not the 35 to 55-year-old male who is actively trying to feel better energy and, keep his muscle at a certain level, or the female who's getting up and working out, and maybe they have blood pressure. But I want to speak more to my own demographic. And I got great advice from a good friend of mine, Mark Jenny, and he got it from a guy who's, I think, Paul Graham, who's the guy, Y Combinator. I might be butchering that a little bit. But anyhow, but I was already on to this advice, but because I got it, but this just reaffirmed it. And I intuitively started to get this, Daryl, which was, why go try and figure out a market that you don't know? Why not just sell to yourself? Because there's millions of people like you out there. And if you start looking at what's so beautiful about, I think, our time and age is that the fact that gluten products and dairy and sugar and all these things, like, listen, I'm not perfect. I believe in the 80-20 rule, 90-10 rule, which is if I eat clean 80%, the other 20 kind of takes care of itself, and I train, blah, blah, blah. I'm not a pro athlete, so I'm not worried about that next level. But when you look at just freaking obesity going crazy, and you look at the diseases that are popping up, the fact of the matter is that if people just cleaned up their diet 80%, they would have massive transformation, right?
Right.
So I'm not going to go off on a tangent on that. What I was trying to get at was that you now have a population and a generation that is starting to understand that, hey, I like the idea to lose weight and to feel great and to be a badass, you need to actually train. Like Spartan is popular. American Ninja is popular. It's even cooler about entrepreneurs. Shark Tank is ridiculously popular.
Yep.
Well, why are those things? CrossFit obviously is boomingly popular,
Yep.
UFC exploded, right? Why are these things, Zumba, Beachbody, all those, why it's positive is because it's raising the mindset of consciousness that you can't be a lazy piece of crap and expect to get great results.
Right.
And I think that is such a truth that is so true for entrepreneurship. Like the buddies I hang out with now, nobody brags about the shit they didn't do. They talk about all the awesome things they're creating.
Yeah. And
so the whole island lifestyle, sitting on a hammock and like sipping margaritas, that'll be cool for about 2 days.
Yep.
And there's a time and place for everything. But, I can go off. I talked to my wife about this weekend. I'll tell you, because we have 7 kids. We get invited to like all the graduation parties, all the things, all the neighborhood things. We have more obligations. And anytime you do stuff out. No, but this is an interesting quote because it's going to be in my book about one of the key traps. Anytime you're doing stuff out of obligation, those end up being your worst decisions. Right.
Yeah.
And I said, we need to reevaluate how we schedule our weekends because I need to be around people doing things that are inspiring. Even if so that might mean we're stopping in and we're leaving.
Yep.
But I'm not sitting there for sorry, you can edit that out.
No, it's
like we're not sitting there for 6 hours to talk about the same shit we're going to talk about 1 year from now and then the same stuff we talked about a year before.
Yeah.
I have too many visions and missions in my brain, and I want to be stimulated and I want to be around. There's Oriah Mountain Dreamer wrote that great poem called
The Invitation. I know exactly what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's just gorgeous. It's about, I don't tell me about your hopes and dreams and what's your biggest, thing that you're kind of like that thing is like, maybe that is a question we ask people, like, what are you willing to create that you're willing to die for? Because everything underneath that is probably just a hope and a dream. And you're hoping one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be wealthier than you were the year before, the 10 years prior. But why is your results in 10 years going to be different than the current results you've gotten right now?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. And that's, I think, a good topic because I think some people, why they might even listen into this call and stuff like this is because they're surrounded with those people that are going to be having the same conversation 6 years from now. And so they have to come to us to tap into that to get connected to people who are, that, like you said, that want to create, that want to just pursue our passions and make the world a better place in the process. So I think that's really important. And this weekend I just went and I did a mud run. It was awesome.
Nice.
Great friends. Oh, it was a blast. Like covered in mud, head to toe, 6 kilometers, 16 obstacles. Like there was like a full, I'm in Canada right now, so kilometers. So it's like 1.6 kilometers is a mile. So anyways, but like almost a full mile was like shoulder deep mud, like just bog after bog. And it was hilarious though. It was so much fun. And the people I went with are great people. They're great friends. But after they want to go for dinner and stuff, and I had to go, almost like you said, like, hey, I stopped in, we did the mud run, I value you guys are great people, great friends, but I don't want to go sit at a diner and hang out and talk about politics and the weather. I got stuff to do, I got this podcast I'm doing, I got other stuff. So it's just almost like you were saying, how you structure and organize your lives. I mean, you don't have to be rude, but at the same time you have to respect yourself and your own wants and needs, because you only have one life too, right?
Yep.
So
absolutely.
So Ed, what were some of the biggest, some of this is old hat for you. I mean, this isn't your first interview. You've done a ton of them. You've helped so many businesses and entrepreneurs in that. Do you feel that there's like key sticking points? Like what are kind of the milestones when you're helping someone go from like a new business to 8 figures? Like, do you already know some of the things they're going to get tripped up on, and what are they?
Well, yeah, there's definitely like most guys, purely from a business perspective, you have to look at your new acquisition. How are you getting customers into the business? Mm-hmm. And where are you at from a break even to profitability to, and then one thing that you got to look at too is you got to go net you have to really go to the net refunds rates, so everything looks good on day 0, but where are we at net 30 after refunds come in, fees come in? And then something I didn't do for a really long time, Daryl, that I think is lack of being aware and really only learning from quote unquote marketing guys or direct response marketing guys, is the focus is so much on the marketing that we forget that in business you have two sides of the fence. You have the profit and loss statement. You have to actually, all this shit for me was self-taught. So I had to go learn. Like I didn't create it, but I had to go seek out mentors, read the books, just like yourself, just like everybody else. And probably when you went to college, even if you did get your MBA, there's a big difference between concepts and application. So when you're looking to scale, the speed of movement of going from acquisition to ascension is very, very critical. Like, so is my customers buying my product number 1, number 2, number 3? I'll tell everyone a quick story that, there's the old story about a dry cleaner. Once you go to a dry cleaner 4 times, they got you. And so the question is, how do you create an experience for your customers that they habit pattern going to you, right? Like Inspired Wear, for example, we are giving away. My goal is to give away 10,000 T-shirts, awesome. And the way we're doing it is to have people refer 5 friends who enter the contest to win 1 T-shirt. Once you win 1, or you can be in the contest. Everyone go in the contest. And we're going to give money credits to everybody anyway. They just don't. Maybe we need to promote that. Maybe not. But once you send 5 friends who enter their name and email, you automatically get a T-shirt, Daryl. Plus, what's even better, buddy, you get $15 credit to our store.
Right.
And then if you refer 10, you get more money. And if you refer 30, 50, it goes all the way up to where you can win 2 T-shirts. Plus $70 credit. We may actually lower that a little bit. I'm trying to think through the logistics of $70. I think you could buy a whole village clothing for. But my belief system is I bet you if I went into, you're a guy who works out, if I went into your drawer at your house, I would guarantee there's probably 16, 20 T-shirts that you bought and picked up at different martial arts places, different CrossFit stuff, your mud runner stuff. And people buy clothing. They love it. And so my only focus in the first 90 days of a customer is how many times do I get them to come back to our store and take an action. It doesn't even have to be totally profitable, but I want them to like the experience when they're with me.
Right.
And that's the most important thing is, so that's one thing. I think if you go one step first back is that I'm way more concerned, or more, I should say, focused, because concerned isn't, I get concerned if this doesn't match with people. I'm way more interested in where their strengths lie as a person and as a human being, and where their natural instincts are driving them, because I would rather than re-engineer their business around that skill set and have a high 6-figure business that is right within their sweet spot than try to force them to go to 8 figures and have them do a bunch of things that eventually get out of their control.
Right, and have them hating life,
Yeah, I've gone through this, right? So there really isn't gold at the end of the rainbow if that rainbow is filled with doing incongruent things that you think it's going to get greener on the other side. And, there's something I talk a lot about. I have this, one of my articles on my website, it's edokeefeshow.com, is Ed's disaster story. And I share how I lost $250,000 in about 8 weeks in the health supplement business. Yeah, and it didn't happen in that small. I literally lost about $125,000, but the end up damages turned out to be around $250,000 when I was done. And it was when my goal to scale, I put my trust in too many of the wrong strategic relationships. And one of the things that I teach people is that if those strategic relationships aren't fully aligned with your best interest, so your success creates their success, not your busyness or your transactions.
Okay.
Like, so a merchant account makes money whether or not you are profitable or not.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So they really don't care how profitable you are. Super affiliates, people who might send you traffic, as long as your EPCs, earnings per click, for them is good, they will promote you. Right. They don't care about your balance sheet. And so something I teach a lot of my guys is that as you're scaling, if you start going to these other things, you really have to understand where your numbers need to be before you try and scale. And so now what we teach is there's 5 models in the health supplement product, and I call the human performance business. Okay. Because I think we're all in human performance, and I think there's guys like the guy at Bulletproof Coffee. There's guys like you know, who are helping people with human performance, who very well should have maybe other products that you're not thinking of, that you would sell to yourself. Well, you know, your audience probably wants it as well. So you should learn the model of where do you source it, where's the margins at, how do I get into that business, and those businesses then can lead to another. And I'm going to share an advanced strategy right now that is something we are focused on very, very heavily. And so if you're listening to this, please write this down or make special note of it. The power in doing that versus just sending people to other affiliate offers is that you can identify a parallel business that you can totally automate. And what I mean by that is, so I'm coaching a guy who's a world-renowned fitness expert. His name's Tom. He's on covers of like Iron Man and all these like muscle and fitness. And he's been a pro athlete, pro bodybuilder, and pro cover model, right? And he's got a really unique method of teaching people how to lower inflammation in their body and eat organically, and eat clean. My wife's on it right now because she has a thyroid issue, and so did his wife. So him and I connected, and she's feeling amazing. Like her life is my wife has literally lost like 7 pounds, which she didn't need to lose weight, right? But she couldn't get, but she was carrying all this inflammation, man. Right. And by eating clean, her body's like just tightening up in like a great way that we should be having more sex, but we're just, we're both exhausted.
You're almost afraid. You have so many kids already.
Yeah, it's comical. Yeah, I'll tell her about this interview. But what's funny about it is something him and I are talking a lot about is like, okay, it's the social media day and age. So for him to get to 8 figures in his business may actually take us 3 years. Okay. Right? I could show him the pathway to get there within, I could show him the formula to get there within 6 to 12 months. Right. But the healthy, long, intelligent, nurturing way to grow a raving fan base and to ensure we're doing it properly may take 2 to 3 years, right? And it might not. I mean, it may, with social media, the opposite can happen is every product we have may just sell right out, right? Right. But I don't want to push people to get to a number because they feel that number will make them whole or make them better than they are today. I'd rather them say, like, I was listening to another guy who I'm going to reach out to. He did a great podcast for the guys at that'll come to me in a second. They're big in the CrossFit and like lifting market. Barbell Shrugged. Barbell Shrugged. Yeah, I know those guys. Yeah. Oh, do you know him personally? No. I just. You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, I'm a Rich Froning fanatic. If you've won the games so many times, you must know something I don't know. So I know that because I've watched the Rich Froning interviews. That's how I know Barbell Shrugged. So. Yeah, so those guys interviewed the guy from I think LA CrossFit or whatever, and I just really I listened to that. I listened to Tim Ferriss' podcast. I'm gonna start listening to your podcast, Daryl, because I love this conversation, and I can tell you're just killing it with your guys you're interviewing. Thank you. Yeah, for sure, man. And I mean, you've helped guys like John and stuff, so you're doing great stuff. the secret, man, is that I mentor, as you know, I'm around a lot of high level pro athletes, and I mentor a lot of them kind of by osmosis, where we kind of coincidentally, they'll call me when they have certain issues, or they'll be asking me kind of more like life and mentoring questions. Even though I did write a book on mental toughness in my 20s, that's usually not where they need the most help. What I found with high performers, less is actually what they need almost every time.
Really?
Yeah, because usually they already know how to do it. It's like, why am I struggling in my training? Well, what's going on? And the blah, blah, blah. It's just blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'm just more, when have you felt at your best? What is not there? What rules or values are you getting conflicted? I don't ask them that specific. I have different questions that I ask them, and I listen to their language, and then I just try and help. I help them realign things so that the friction is removed. Does that make sense?
Kind of. What do you mean by the friction?
All right. I'll give you a specific example. Most people have false perceptions of what's supposed to be happening because maybe 9 years ago when I was 23, my body was capable of doing stuff. Now that I'm 29, it's not.
Right.
So I was able to recover. I was able to train 6.5 hours. I was able to wipe the floor of everybody. Well, when you're 32, I mean, when you talk to Randy Couture, when I met Randy when he was, I think, after he beat Tim, what's his name, in the UFC, and he was the oldest champion and stuff like that.
Right. Yep.
So Randy, the rules a guy like Randy Couture had at age, for some reason, 44 is what's hitting me in my head, but I think it was between 40 and 44 for him to be a UFC champion. And the rules he had for himself when he was 28, they're completely different.
Yeah.
So it's just so by if he tried to have the same rule set and expectations, he's going to have what I call friction. He's also going to have cognitive dissonance in his head. So he's going to be expecting something that's not realistic, and he's going to be seeing that gap. And in that gap creates delays. If people have delays, then they can't trust their training. If they can't trust their training, how in the hell are they going to trust their game plan? If they can't trust their game plan, they can't let their unconscious mind take over when it's time to compete. So they all kind of layer upon themselves. And so when I've coached high level, my teams have done very, very well. I notice something takes over, which is I stop having to ever talk about motivation. I stop ever having to talk about fear. Like, it becomes more about helping them be themselves.
Right.
And at that point, so what I mean by making less is the distractions need to go, the cognitive dissonance needs to disappear. The Josh Waitzkin and Tim Ferriss were on a I think it was the two of them. I don't want to screw it up, but they were on a call with a super high level hedge fund manager, and what they helped him do is they figured on, is how does he crush his first 2 hours of the day? And that became his tip of the spear. And then from that point on, everything else was only going to get better. And so less is more. So where maybe that guy was trying to do 18 things in the first 2 hours, they were like, no, you're going to have a high protein, low carb diet. You're going to get your greens in. You're going to get your workout in. You're going to spend a little time with your family or pray, whatever your thing is. You help. I mean, because it's always individual, but there's certain commonalities, right?
Right, of course.
Go through your checklist and your emotional state. I created another audio about why I think people pay Tony Robbins $1 million a year and a lot of this high performance coaching stuff, Daryl, is kind of the stuff I love talking about because I think entrepreneurs are the same thing. It's all the same thing. So less is almost always more in the case of when you start looking at high performers.
Right. Right. No, and I think you're right in the case of entrepreneurs in the same way, because a lot of the stuff, it's the same. Like, I mean, for a lot of the people in the world, they just go to work, they clock in, they clock out, and as long as their work is satisfactory, then they just get a paycheck and they get to go home. But when you are directly responsible for the amount of money you generate at the end of the day, every day is competition, and some days you might not be on your game, but you're still at the competition. So I love the analogy between the two. And I think just like in athletics and business, I think it's very Shakespearean. I think that people often succumb to their own personal character flaws. I think that's why so many entrepreneurs and business people and athletes are into personal development, because they'll psych themselves out. Like you said, you call it cognitive dissonance. Like they just you have to, otherwise you're going to fall victim to your own flaws. And I think that I think that's very, very, very transferable for that. I don't think there's a big difference. I think maybe one's more physical based, but at the same time, it's still about pushing yourself. It's about grind, to bring it back to what we talked about at the beginning.
Yeah, so then just to give everyone to close the loop on that, so then what I will do there is ask them some questions like, what would need to be most important for you to feel, ultimate confidence? There was one super high level athlete that everyone would know if I mentioned their name, who said they wanted to feel, it was a unique language pattern, but it was the first time I ever heard it, to be honest with you. And I said, wow. Because what I said was, what do you want to experience on a daily basis?
Right.
When training and getting ready for your next, competition. And they told me, and I said, oh, crap, that's an interesting language pattern. And I always go to language because I feel like language reveals the eyes of the soul. It's from my NLP training, my hypnosis training. And so then from that, I said, okay, well, what would need to be happening in order for you to experience that? And then when he laid it out, the fact of the matter is he could not hit that criteria. Just physically he couldn't, like no more, because of injury, because of limitations, because of whatever it might be. And so he was screwed if he didn't change that criteria. Right. He was just totally screwed. And so was everyone around him. And so we worked on just realigning those rules and then creating so then what can we control to create that same outcome, that same energy directional experience. Okay. So by just realigning that, you lose friction. And then now it's like, okay, cool. I don't have to worry about that because it's gone. That stuff, it's my old rules created that, but now I have these new rule sets that allow me to do that. I another UFC contender right now who I'm talking to and mentoring slightly. And again, you got to look at rule sets and values and see how they work together. Them being incrementally better at a certain thing is already going to be programmed into their game plan by their coach, right?
Right.
And assuming two guys are at the same level and they're doing the same game planning or something at a similar level, the guy with less friction is going to outperform.
Right.
So.
Yep. You got to get out of your own way.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. No, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I learn a lot of stuff. It's funny because it's so, not to go into too much of my own tangent, but so I'm adopted. And the family I was adopted by, they're very much into 10-pin bowling and golf. But I kind of dropped out of both of those kind of as soon as I was old enough to make my own decisions. I'm just not into them. I'm more into you saw me. I'm Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, MMA, mud run, triathlons, CrossFit. I'm very an active kind of guy. But it's funny because even just hearing you talk here, and I think especially my dad, he is so into the psychology of the bowling and the golf and constantly having to step up at both of them. Every shot you're on, step up and have to clear your mind. And almost like you said, the person who has less friction will execute better because they're not going to step on their own toes. They're not going to second guess themselves. They're going to be consistent, congruent, and they're kind of thinking from their thinking's based in reality of where they're at. That kind of hit home for me because I hurt my back this year doing back squats. I've never been a weightlifting guy, and I was really putting up some big numbers in weightlifting and kind of want to see how far I could go. And then I was CrossFit workout, did 25 sets of reps of a back squat, and the 26th one my right side gave out. But it's almost it's fine now. I'm back on it now, but it was almost like you said, like you're not 22 anymore, right? And just changing the rules, it's because, like you said, just even with these high level athletes, they'll perform. Like they're going to take care of the training. They're going to do everything that they can tactically to make their dreams a reality. And what you're saying, the rest of what you're trying to do is make sure that their goals are based in reality, that they're actually coming from a standpoint of where they really are, and that there's clarity so that they can really focus on what they need to do, that there's not any static going on in their brain, and also anything if they've got any sort of self-destructive behavior or habits. To get those. Yeah.
So can I translate this over to entrepreneurship for a second? I'll break it down to the micro now. So if I'm listening to this and I'm sitting here going like, okay, guys, this is great. I understand I may have some rules that are messing me up and stuff like that. Well, so then what you need to do is make it easy for people to have, like if I want you spending $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a day on Facebook or on advertising, dude, at one point we were doing $100,000 a day, $120,000 a day. So that means we were spending $40,000 to $60,000 a day in ad spend.
Right.
So for you to do that, you don't start there. Right. So you don't stress out about that. And so what I would always like to say to people is like, how do you break this thing down to make it very, very easy for you to move? So what rules would you have to create? And so if they follow the rules and how we do media buys, then you won't have to worry about losing money because our rules protect you. And so the question we ask is, what are you willing to spend and to lose, or what are you willing to spend that if you lost it, it wouldn't affect you emotionally at all, but it would allow you to start doing the habit pattern that eventually will get you where you need to be. And so let me give you a simple example. If I'm selling a product that I'm willing to spend $20 to acquire, or I can spend, our target is $20 to spend to acquire a customer. The rule when you start your business, like when you target audiences or you target this can be in direct, this can be in anything, right? The rule is that if I end up spending $40, more than $40, and I have zero sales, I pause that ad.
Right.
So 2 times your CPA, your cost per sale or cost per action. For some markets, it may be 3 times because of if I'm selling something for, say, $10,000, and I've spent $2,000 and I haven't made a sale yet, I'm willing to spend $2,000. Once I get to $4,000, my rule would say to me, pause the ad. Because I'm going to find a target that I'm going to be consistently hitting $2,000 per sale, and then I'll be making my money in that target or that audience or that on that site. And so what I like saying to people is if you're learning how to run ads or you're learning something, just lay out your metrics, lay out your target, and then go ahead and run some ads with that micro loss. Like the worst case scenario is you lose $40, mm-hmm. And most people are going to say, "Oh, I can lose $40 100 times over."
Right.
All right. Well, then guess what, buddy? You just gave yourself permission to run 100 tests over the next 90 days. So start, and then so if you ran a habit pattern where you tested 2 creatives or 2 landing pages or 2 whatever 100 times, you are going to be in a place where 99.9% of the population will never get to. So that's where the focal point needs to go in business, and you don't need to be a pro at the beginning. You just need to know what is the first step towards being the pro, and then build a foundation that when you rep this thing out and you're one of the best in the world at it, you now have a skill set that will work at the next level. Like you mentioned Lloyd Irvin, right? And one of Lloyd's founding principles when teaching white belts is that the real world champions is he's designing a culture where guys are to be world champions, right, at the black belt level. So he's not teaching them tricks that will only work
against white belts.
White belts.
Yeah.
You know, so it's all about where are we going. And if you take that same mentality, brother, I mean, it works for everything.
Yeah, no, that's huge. That's huge and very powerful. So what has been, that's obviously something that's really helped you in your business career, in your life. What have been, well, what's one more thing? What could you say has been, like you mentioned paid media and you haven't really talked about anything else. So can you talk about paid media a little bit? Because some of the people listening, this topic has come up a few times and I get a lot of feedback from people because you've mentioned social media as well and you talked about growing fast versus growing slow. So could you maybe talk a little bit about paid media versus quote-unquote organic growth, which is more like word of, like having affiliates mail you and mail for you or waiting for all this inbound marketing stuff to work that you're doing. And what are kind of your opinions on that? Like you've talked about spending money to buy customers. Is that something you feel every business has to do? Or is that something that you think that, it should only be reserved for certain people?
Yeah, no, I think you should have so if you have a business that can benefit from virality and word of mouth, then you should have a strategy that combines virality with it. Now, how I look at it, though, is where can I spend money in order to bump my virality? So yeah, I mean, so the fact of the matter is, right, you can't, I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this because you asked, that's a big chunk question.
It is a big chunk question.
That's okay. That's okay though. So like with paid advertising, what I would suggest for everybody is pick a channel that they have a strong resonation for, based that they know for a fact their competition is already killing it with. So if I use compete.com and I use a couple of my tools and I find out that this company's getting 60% of their traffic from Pinterest and I'm committed to dominating this business, well, I'm not going to go learn, Instagram. No, I might learn Instagram because it's very similar. I'm not going to go learn. I'm not going to go learn Twitter ads, right? I'm not going to go learn Twitter ads and 6 other things. I'm going to go study what they're doing and try and reverse engineer what this company's already doing on Pinterest. Then I'll see where I'll just run my system, which is I'll go buy any courses. I'll go study who's talking about it. I'll look on YouTube. That's kind of my system that I go through. And then I go to my mastermind groups and find out who's doing what, where, and, or who's already an expert there. And then people don't realize that there's almost nobody out there that you can't buy their time.
Right.
So my secret to leapfrogging and everything I do is who's the best in this business, and either I'll buy their course, I'll do whatever, and then if it makes sense, I'm in their mastermind group. I mean, if I need to buy a day of consulting, I'll buy a day of consulting. But so that's what I do with paid consulting or with paid traffic. The micro side of it will go into each channel. So the first element, let's break down the strategy I'm about to give. So first strategy is, where's your competitor at? How are they getting the traffic? What creatives are they using? What offer are they using? What sales funnel are they using? And I will videotape the entire funnel, left to right, full thing. And then I will say, hey, okay, cool. Can we replicate this? Can we do something similar? Can we make it better? But you always got to foundationally copy what they're doing first. And I don't mean steal. I just mean make your own version of it, because if you can't do that, I mean, like, creativity sometimes ruins everybody,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's where I'm at with that, man. I just think, and then you run your ad, you have your rules, and then we see where we're at. Now, what I would say to people is that you need to have some form of paid strategy with your business. Otherwise, your referrals end up drying up, your virality. If everybody's doing the virality, but you're the only one boosting and pumping and spending money to accelerate your virality, then you're going to have an edge where they don't, So I wouldn't be afraid of it. I would embrace it,
I love that. So let me just try and do a bit of a recap. So you said the strategy in the beginning is you use some tools like compete.com or like follow.net, some sort of online competitive analysis tool to try to break down where your competitors are getting their traffic from. You'll take a look at, a buddy of mine calls this the black Lamborghini test. He says he takes all the competitors in his industry, puts them out on the table, and gets rid of everyone who couldn't reasonably walk on to a car lot and get a Lamborghini today and be able to afford the payments. And then he takes that person, or you would take that person, and you take a look at their funnel, you buy all their stuff, you take a look at all of it, and you record it, make a model out of it, just kind of create kind of a template, and then you go back to your team and go, hey team, this is what the black Lamborghini guy is doing, what can we do to make this better and our own? And then you launch with that with some rules that are within your comfort zone, and if wherever the traffic source might be coming from, whether if it's like you said, Pinterest, if that's really what's driving that business, then you master that. But you also think that paid media has a place in pretty much every business, although it might be different, but you still need that to kind of keep pumping things along. Is that correct?
Yeah, but here's exactly. And here's one other thing I just want to tell everyone. For $5 to $10 a day, you could be boosting posts to your audience with good content that may have slightly a brand strategy, but you could also infiltrate your competitors' fan bases by simply just going on any of these social platforms and buying ads. I mean, this is not rocket science, man. I mean, if you want to be well known and associated with certain people, just go buy ads and stick your stuff right there. But what I like doing is create enormous value. Like if people go and check out like my blog, I just give ridiculous sums of value because I believe most people hold out. So why hold out? Just give it away.
Right. No, totally. And even like your T-shirt contest and that. And I mean, we should probably talk a bit about what you have going on now. Is that contest alive and well? How do people go and find out about what you have going on? Like you said, you're launching that? You're about to launch it?
Yeah, we're hopefully it will be live this week. But inspiredwear.com is where you can go. Okay. Inspiredwear.com. And I mean, the contest, hopefully it's still there when you get there, but I think it's going to be. Right. And our goal is to really launch this thing out like in a very aggressive way by what do you call it? By giving a ton away and creating a ton of customers and raving fans. That's the goal.
Right. Yeah, that's huge. And that's I appreciate what you brought up about the dentist thing, or not the dentist, sorry, about the dry cleaner, because I think that's a really powerful point. Like you even saying that you're willing even to go at a loss. I mean, that's a conversation, we don't have time for that today, but a conversation versus profit versus growth. You're willing to invest in the growth of your company and potentially even take a loss to give away a ton of free stuff just to get people into the habit and routine of coming to your business and making purchases or going through the purchase process, even if it's with free credit. You're training them that way. That way, like you said, with the dry cleaner, if you can get them to come back 3-4 times, now they're very comfortable with you, they're very familiar, and they understand how it works. So that's something that I think it's a great launch strategy. I really love the virality of giving away the T-shirts and being able to give your friends free T-shirts. I think that's a really smart way to do it, especially with social media. I think it's going to be really, really, really successful. So I guess if anyone wants to check out how that contest is going or see what's new and inspired, it's inspiredwear.com. Do you have a social media page or anything as well that you're going to be using to kind of help pump the contest up?
Yeah, so inspiredwear.com is Instagram. Check us out. Hashtag inspiredwear. Pinterest, Facebook. Let's see if I'm missing anything. I'm sure we're on Twitter and whatever else. But really, I would encourage everybody to kind of join the movement. They could also go to edokeefeshow.com and just opt in. I have an opportunity that everybody can get free supplements and free T-shirts and free business training. And, we run these health intensives every about 90 days showing people how to go from where they're currently at on up. And then if guys don't join the intensive, I really don't stress that. I really, really, really want to be helping people who are in the human performance movement, trying to help people get better. I really just want people to take stuff and go crazy with it and be uberly successful. And so my philosophy on a lot of this is just give like everything away. And what happens is the people who want more come to our intensives. So that's my philosophy, man.
Got it. Okay, so it's inspiredwear.com, and it's Ed O'Keefe Show, EDOKEEFE Show, SHOW.com. Yeah, Ed, is there any other way people should get in touch with you? Those are probably the best. Go to EdO'KeefeShow.com, get on Ed's list. He's got great content, great stuff, for sure. And if you want some free T-shirts, go check out inspiredwear.com.
Yeah, totally, bro. Wait, hey, Daryl, you're doing great stuff, bro. I just want to tell you that. I mean, I've been around you for a while now, and I just love what you're doing. So I'm glad people are listening and tuning in. So
thank you, Ed. That means a lot coming from you, so I definitely appreciate it. Thank you. And I appreciate your time today. I know that we've got some really good tidbits. We've got some mindset stuff. We have some actionable things that people can use in their business. We even have like a model or a system to follow for people to get something up and running, and almost permission for themselves to, if they feel that some of the things they're being pushed to do or feel they have to do are too big, to take that small step. Like I liked what you said about your rules. You know, just keep it small. Just stick to something you can handle to at least get the habit going, because you can grow a habit.
Habit patterns and who you become is the name of the game. You said it perfectly.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Ed. I appreciate you joining us for today, and thank you so much for your time.
All right, brother. All right, everybody. Have a great one. Thanks so much.
You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with, or give them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember, taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them, and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast, and if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself, and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.